In this episode of Idea City,
what is your legacy going to be on this planet? What are you doing that you're so passionate about, that you care enough about, that's going to change the world? Because more than ever before, you're empowered to do that today.
Moses Znaimer's Idea City Conference. Ideas change the world.
Despite global economic gloom, which you heard about in session one, despite environmental depredations of all kind, which you heard about throughout the body of the conference, and despite crazy sectarian murderous behavior that we are all aware of going on even as we sit here and enjoy ourselves, it would appear that cheerfulness keeps breaking through. Despite all of that, The Economist reports that in a poll of 19,000 adults in 24 countries, just carried on by Ipsos, a Toronto company, that 77% of respondents describe themselves as happy, and 22% of these lunatics describe themselves as very happy. Now, watch this.
Hi, this is Peter Diamandis. I'm speaking to you from my office in Los Angeles at the Xprize headquarters. And I hope you've had a fantastic 3 days. And here we are in the final session. I really, truly wish I was there. I can't, unfortunately. The laws of physics don't allow me to be there instantaneously, and nor do I have a transporter Xprize or a cloning Xprize to make it possible right now. But Idea City is the place that was the beginning of Singularity University, so it's an appropriate time and place for me to talk about our future. So I'm passionate about a number of different things and working on a multiple number of things. First of all, the notion that we are, during our time and age, saying goodbye to linear thinking. You know, we evolved as a species on Earth over the last millions of years, basically during a time where the world would be best described as local and linear. You know, when you're on the plains of Africa, walking around, living, looking for food, everything around you was local. You know, the world that affected you was local. If something happened on the other side of the planet, you knew nothing about it. Again, millions of years ago, the world was best described as linear. The life of your great-grandparents, your parents, you, your kids, their kids, nothing changed generation to generation. The world was really unchanged for centuries and millennia, and those are the conditions under which our brains evolved. Our brains evolved to think in local and linear fashion. But the world today is literally growing globally and exponentially. You know, the world is global in that if something happens on the other side of the planet, in India or China, you know about it literally seconds later. And it's exponential in that technology is growing at such a fast rate. It's not different from generation to generation. It's literally different year to year. Just think about the technologies that we are dependent on today. You know, from Google to ubiquitous Wi-Fi to YouTube to whatever it might be. These are things that didn't really exist 10 years ago, but yet they drive our businesses today. And that's only going to be increasing over time. The rate at which innovation is happening is itself accelerating. So what makes that exciting is that we're living during a day and age where small teams, individuals like yourself and your best friends, can start a company to touch and affect the lives of 1 billion people. I call this 10 to the 9th plus thinking. How do you start a company, a product, or a service that can touch the lives of 1 billion people within a decade? Because it's possible. We see this all the time. We see this in a multiple number of companies, from Google and Facebook and Skype and so forth. And that ability is happening more and more frequently because of these exponentially growing technologies. And that's what we teach at Singularity University, and that's the ethos of SU. We bring graduate students in from around the world. We teach them about computers and networks, AI and robotics, synthetic biology, bioinformatics, uh, digital medicine, nanomaterials, 3D printing, digital printing, all of these areas, and say these are the tools that you can use to make your dreams come true, and also the tools that you can use to really change the world, to identify the world's biggest problems and to help solve them. You see, one of the things that exists during our lifetime is a beautiful alignment that the world's biggest challenges, the grand challenges of our life, also represent the world's biggest revenue opportunities. Solve hunger, water, food, energy, healthcare, education, any of these things, and you become a billionaire in the process. At the same time, you get the gratitude of humanity. How cool is that? So one of the things I'm here to say to all of you is, what of these grand challenges are you focused on? What is your legacy going to be on this planet? What are you doing that you're so passionate about, that you care enough about, that's going to change the world? Because more than ever before, you're empowered to do that today. So think about that, please. What's your 10 to the 9th plus vision? Okay? That's the first thing I want you to think about. But the idea that really resonated was, let's reinvent how to clean up oil on the ocean surface, that we get it before it hits the coastline.
Great ideas are meant to be shared. Join the discussion on Facebook. Moses Znaimer's Idea City Conference. Ideas change the world.
So besides SU, and I'll just mention, we're getting ready to execute our graduate studies program 2012 in Mountain View. We have Google and Autodesk and Kauffman Foundation, Genentech, Cisco, a number of amazing companies as partners, Nokia. And really, we just accepted 80 graduate students out of 3,200 applicants. 80 grad students have come into the program, and we hope we'll give birth to about a dozen new companies. We also, for those of you who don't have 10 weeks, which is how long the program is, we have a 7-day executive program. We're sold out through October, but if you go to singularityU.org, you can learn about this. We have one in October, one in December that has room. They'll all sell out. They always do. And it's typically the most extraordinary experience that people have. And during the 7 days, we'll walk you through all of these exponential technologies and help you understand how you can use them to make your dreams come true, impact your industry, your company, and help solve humanity's grand challenges. So besides SU, where I serve as executive chairman, and again, thank you to Idea City and to Moses for really helping us found the institution back there some 4 years ago. We had our first summer session in 2009, and I think discussed it really in its earliest days at Idea City 2008. I also run the Xprize Foundation. At Xprize, my goal is to have those individuals, those entrepreneurs who are empowered by that exponential technology, attack the world's biggest problems. And we do this by using incentive competitions. So I've got like the coolest job in the world, right? We sit here and we discuss what are the world's biggest problems, and then we design X prizes, very clear, objective, measurable goals, and then ask teams around the world to solve those problems. They're not just solve it with an idea, not with just like a design on paper. They actually have to go and build the hardware. They have to go and design the system, build the system, demonstrate the system. And if they do, they win millions of dollars. But mostly they get the attention of the world and they launch a new industry. Our first X Prize, as many of you may know, was the $10 million Ansari X Prize for Spaceflight. $10 million drove 26 teams from 7 countries to spend $100 million to build a spaceship that could carry 3 adults up 100 kilometers into space, land safely, and within 2 weeks do it again. We had successfully launched the Progressive Insurance Automotive Xprize for 100 mile per gallon equivalent cars. We then had awarded last year something called the Wendy Schmidt Oil Cleanup X Challenge. And we'll talk about that one in a minute because it's really fun. So in 2010, when the BP oil spill was going on and on and on, James Cameron had just joined our board, and you said, you've got to do something about the spill. We looked at, could we create an X Prize to cap the spill? That wasn't an option for us. But the idea that really resonated was, let's reinvent how to clean up oil on the ocean surface, that we get it before it hits the coastline. Well, when we looked at that, it turned out that the technology for cleaning up oil spills had not changed since the Exxon Valdez 21 years earlier. 21 years ago, we cleaned up 1,100 gallons of oil per minute. Today, we clean up 1,100 gallons of oil per minute, or at least back then we did. And the same equipment was used in Alaska as was in the Gulf. So we went out to our benefactors. Wendy Schmidt runs the Family Foundation, and we said, here's our mission. She put up about $3 million. About half of it was for prize money, half of it was to run the competition. And we challenged teams to at least double the rate at which you could clean up an oil spill. So at least 2,200 gallons per minute. We had 350 teams around the world enter this competition. Extraordinary. We narrowed it down to the top 10 teams, and those teams basically went head-to-head in the world's largest oil spill cleanup facility. This is a facility located in New Jersey, and it's the largest pool. Literally thousands of gallons of oil are dumped in, and they've got to clean it up. Well, what was fascinating about this was that 7 of the final teams actually doubled the rate. Now, think about this, a $1.4 million prize in a multi-$100 billion industry, and $1.4 million made a difference. Now, what was really interesting was that the teams that competed were all very small teams. One of the teams was a team out of Alaska, a family that built the dad's design, funded it with their own bank account, and their design doubled the industry standards. How cool is that? The winning team actually ultimately was able to improve it sixfold, do a sixfold improvement in how much oil was cleaned up on the water surface. And if you clean it up there, it doesn't hit the shoreline and hit our environment. But what was really cool was that one of the teams that doubled the rate of oil spill cleanup was a team that met in a Las Vegas tattoo parlor. How cool is that? I mean, literally, the tattoo artist was the designer. One of his clients was the CEO, and they put a team together because they were so pissed off about the BP oil spill. They built a scale model in the guy's swimming pool. The first time the full-scale model saw, oil and water was in the test facility, and it still doubled the oil spill cleanup rate. There's this great strip of video that I have that the guy's being interviewed by the news cameras, and they ask him, so how long have you been in the oil spill cleanup business? And he goes, including today? I mean, amazing. The guy was a newbie in this, and they did an amazing job. And the fact of the matter is the world has been getting extraordinarily better for the last 100 years. Think about, the fact that every nation is wealthier and healthier. The personal income of every individual, adjusted for inflation, has tripled in the last 100 years. The human lifespan has more than doubled.
Get the latest Idea City news instantly. Follow us on Twitter. Moses Znaimer's Idea City Conference. Ideas change the world.
So what else do we have going on? We have the $30 million Google Lunar X Prize. We've got 26 teams around the world who are building small, low-cost robots to go to the lunar surface. At CES, Consumer Electronics Show this year, I was on stage with Paul Jacobs, the CEO of Qualcomm, announcing the $10 million Qualcomm Tricorder X Prize. And for you Trekkies in the audience, you'll remember the Tricorder, of course. I mean, this is basically a device that you hold in your hand that is a consumer device that you speak to, you cough on, you do a finger transdermal blood analysis, And it has to be able to diagnose you better than a team of board-certified doctors. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that's really cool. And it's what's really amazing is that we announced it in January. Here we are in June, and we've got almost 200 teams around the world entered the Qualcomm Tricorder Xprize. These are teams from, I think, 26, 27 countries who are building these devices. We're going to have a winner in the next 3.5 years. We have literally added on top of that the Nokia Sensing X Challenge, which are teams building new biometric sensors that will feed into the Qualcomm Tricorder Xprize. So a lot of fun competitions going on ahead. The last subject I want to talk to you about is the subject of a new book that I wrote called Abundance. The Future is Better Than You Think. We've been on the New York Times list for 9 weeks, hit number 2 on the New York Times list, number 1 on Amazon. And it's the result of the work I've done at Xprize and SU that's led me to realize, heck, the world is getting better at an extraordinary rate. And yet people don't realize that. They think that the world's getting worse. Why? Because on every device we have, our computer, our cell phones, our newspapers, our radios, our TVs, we're constantly bombarded by negative news because that's what your brains evolved to pay attention to. So the news media is the drug pusher, the negative news is the drug, and you're the victim. And the fact of the matter is the world has been getting extraordinarily better for the last 100 years. Think about the fact that every nation is wealthier and healthier. The personal income of every individual adjusted for inflation has tripled in the last 100 years. The human lifespan has more than doubled. The cost of electricity is 20-fold cheaper, so is food. Transportation is 100-fold cheaper. Communications 1,000-fold cheaper. And the forces that created that world we have today are only accelerating. So we're living into a world that is a world of abundance. By 2020, we're going to be hitting 5 billion people connected on the internet, 3 billion new minds. They are going to be the beginning of an extraordinary era of innovation.
Get the latest Idealist news, presenter information, and watch streaming video at ideacityonline.com. Moses Znaimer's Idea City Conference. Ideas change the world.
I talk about the fact that in this book, I opened up the book with the story of aluminum, where I talk about the fact that aluminum in the 1840s was the most precious metal on the planet. There's a story of Napoleon III invites the King of Siam over for dinner, and he feeds the King of Siam with aluminum utensils because aluminum was so rare that it was worth more than gold and platinum. And that's why the tip of the Washington Monument is made of aluminum, because it was built in the same decade. Even though aluminum is 8.3% of the Earth by weight, it is all bound with oxygen and silicates. There's no pure aluminum you can dig out of the ground. And it's so energy difficult to pull out, it was worth more than gold and platinum, until a technology of electrolysis came along and turned aluminum from something that was scarce into something so abundant. We use it with aluminum cans, aluminum foil. We use it with a throwaway mentality. That same mindset that technology can take that which was scarce and make it abundant holds in so many areas. We talk about energy scarcity, but we're living in a planet bathed with energy. We have 5,000 times more energy that hits the Earth's surface than we as a species use in a year. It's not scarce. It's just not in a usable form. But there are amazing breakthroughs going on in solar right now. The cost of solar is plummeting. We have a 30% increase per year. We're literally 20 years away from meeting 100% of our energy needs. If we're at 1% today, we're 20 years away from meeting 100% with solar. And it gets better and better from there. We talk about water wars, but we're living on a water planet. 70% of this planet is bathed in water. We are going to have technologies coming online that are going to allow us to have all the water that we need. The Tricorder will give us healthcare abundance, amazing breakthroughs in a multitude of areas. What I'll end on is the notion that what I talk about in abundance called the rising billion. In 2010, 2 billion people were connected on the internet out of the 7 billion we have on this planet. By 2020, we're going to be hitting 5 billion people connected on the internet. 3 billion new minds are entering the global conversation. 3 billion people who have never been heard from before, had never bought anything online. They are going to be the beginning of an extraordinary era of innovation. 3 billion people who are going to invent, create, solve, consume, add tens of trillions to the global economy. So to summarize, we're living in a world of exponential technologies empowering you to do extraordinary things, literally to make your dreams come true, during a time and age where we have the ability to solve the world's grand challenges, create a world of abundance. So my question to you is, what are you doing? What are you doing with this extraordinary technology during this extraordinary time to change the world? Thank you so much.
Idea City is a place where ideas come face to face to inspire and give us hope. At this time, our planet needs it most. Idea City is a place. Everybody sing. Where ideas come face to face to inspire and give us hope. At this time, our planet needs it most. Idea City, gotta bring our ideas to Idea City, where ideas come face to face to inspire and give us hope. At this time, our planet needs it most. Idea City.
Oh, wonderful. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Woo. What's this? Woo.